Let it go, let it. No. Now that I think about it, I think that the audience heard this song so much that they already got sick of it. Yeah, so I'm gonna be so kind and not sing it. So, yeah. Anyway, I just came back from Frozen 2 after, well, suffering last week from one of the worst sore throats I ever had. Still recovering a little bit, but I am well enough to talk. So sorry if you didn't hear me about last week. Also because there wasn't a movie that kind of interested me last week. But yeah, as you can see, I saw Frozen 2. Well, to be perfectly fair, I did saw it 2 days ago. It's just that I have stuff to do before I make my filming, so I think it's right now the good time to to film, right? It's to film, let it slide for in case people don't want to exactly hear me out, because I technically tend to intentionally / unintentionally spoil the movie. But this one kind of deserves to talk some spoilerish things. I'm gonna try my best to not spoil it. But here it goes. Here's my take on the Frozen thing. First off, I gotta say that Frozen, the original movie, is not exactly my favorite movie, but I do agree that it's a really good movie. It's really good. It's just that I find it a teensy bit overrated. I mean, I get it. It's beautifully animated. It took some risk about the storytelling of the typical Disney princess scene in some scenes or another, even though it still is a Disney princess movie. Although I find it more like a queen movie, since Elsa is technically a queen and Anna's the princess. But I digress. It's not exactly one of my favorites, but I can see why. But I do have kind of like a lot of respect to it. If you ask me about what could be my favorite Disney movie, I would consider saying that Lilo and Stitch and Zootopia are kind of like my top favorites. And if we're talking about Disney princesses, I think that I like Tangled better than Frozen. I mean, I even saw it again this year, Tangled, and I find out that it's much better than I thought. So this is a little bit my take on Frozen. I'm not exactly uber into it. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Did you get annoyed by the Let It Go song? In a way, yes. Although it didn't affect me so much, because in my mind, I thought that Let It Go, while being a good song, it wasn't kind of like my taste or my style, and I think that it was kind of overrated in my opinion. Again with the word. I think that there were better songs than Let It Go inside the movie. I personally think that for the first time in December, whatever it was called, I think that was the better song compared to Let It Go. Maybe it's because of the energy that kind of catch on. So yeah, the craze it began to diminish a little bit, even though Disney do all its best possible to keep on the merchandise of Let It Go and all these things, like the usual thing, business stuff. And of course, we all never forget that Ola special that took 30 minutes of our movie times when we were there to watch Coco. Yes, we all know many people hated it. Okay, just kind of like ignoring that the Ola special was on the way of watching a better movie, which is none other than Coco. I thought that the special did feel a little bit cheap in a way. It was kind of like a Christmas thing. I didn't hate it exactly. I gotta say that probably I kind of get a laugh when Olaf made a remark that you're planting the corpse of a tree, so you're dangling it and to expose it with lights and everything. Because I don't know, I find this joke very morbid to the point that it gave me kind of like a chuckle. So there, we got Frozen 2 now, and I wasn't too hype about it, but I was like, all right, let me see about it. Because there's some things that it will be interesting to explore about the world of Arendelle and all this stuff. So what do I thought about the movie when I finally watched it? One word. Meh. That's the thing. It's just it's an okay film. I've seen kind of worse, but I've seen better this year. But unfortunately, Frozen 2 is one of those movies that again suffers the Disney-style sequelitis. And unfortunately, I would say that this one doesn't feel like a pilot for a TV series that could be coming next. No, it doesn't feel like that. And while it feels that it has some good ideas on paper, it feels like they didn't focus enough to bring out kind of like a steady story, steady pacing, and satisfying elements that will make us feel fulfilled. So yeah, that brings out, in consequence, a very unfocused, sometimes boring, sometimes okay film. Well, the only way you could actually go through the movie is to technically shut off your mind and try to go along with the film. But sometimes, even when you watch many Disney films, you sometimes know where it goes, and you might get ready to be disappointed when they don't take the opportunity of taking risks. This is technically my summary of what Frozen 2 is. So here's the story of Frozen 2. It takes place, I think, years or months or whatever they want to tell it, probably years after the first movie. Elsa is queen, Anna is still the princess. She has her relationship with Kristoff, and of course we got Olaf, of course. So everything is fine and dandy on Arendelle until Elsa begins to hear voices in which apparently they're calling on to her, and then some spirits of nature apparently begins to be angry at Arendelle and technically wipe out all the elements that happen in Arendelle and makes weather kind of crazy, let's say. I'll get to that, by the way. And so basically, it all leads to an enchanted forest that is sealed by a mist and a fog. So with Elsa's powers, she managed to go in, even though it is difficult to go out. She goes along with her friends and discovers a kind of new territory with a history of Arendelle. This is kind of like the short version of what can I say about this story, because man, that it feels interesting, on paper, I'll say, because they begin kind of like it kind of begins, of course, with a flashback when Anna and Elsa were kids and they had their parents, and they begin to tell the story how they met. Because Arendelle, basically the story of Arendelle is that they were roaming around. They tried to make appeasement with the spirits of nature, and there were also people who kind of learned to go along with nature, and they have the magic to control the four elements, which is of course earth, fire, water, and wind. Kind of sounds familiar. Every time when they say it, for some reason, I kind of give myself a chuckle by saying, heart! Yeah, Captain Planet reference. But still, it also gave me Avatar references because, well, they were talking about people who know how to control the elements and how they use them. Yeah, it in my head it made me feel like I'm watching kind of like the Disney version of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Okay, so anyway, apparently they construct this bridge of peace, which is also kind of like a dam and a river. They're having kind of like a peace treaty with the nature people, but something happens in which Elsa's father, Elsa and Anna's father, when he was young, he didn't witness, of course. And of course, this is where he meets the mother, and because of that blood, well, quote unquote bloodbath, because God forbid blood in Disney. So what happened is that apparently the spirits of nature, they get angry, so they decided to seal the forest in a mist. And not only that, let me tell you, when they seal this place, they apparently time works differently there. So they slow down time inside. So years outside is gonna be only months inside. You know, now that I think of it, it kind of feels similar to this other movie that I saw years ago. What was it called? Annihilation. Yeah. If you guys begin to hear a little bit of background music, I want to apologize. It's that I sometimes have a very noisy neighbor that likes to put in loud volume salsa merengue music. What can you do? Okay, so anyway, where was I? So yeah, that sounds like an interesting story, to go through with the Frozen 2 thing. But yeah, then when they go to the journey, you gotta begin to notice that some things are beginning to mix up in the storyline. For example, during this whole thing, we got Elsa trying to find out the truth of Arendelle, in which the MacGuffin trolls kind of tell them that she has to be careful that she's gonna grow too strong and she's gonna know too much, and when she finds the truth, there's gonna be so shocking. Then there is Anna, who is trying, having her sisterly bond, which is both cute and a little bit too sticky at the same time. She's kind of struggling that she wants things to kind of stay the same, but things get kind of difficult. Kind of like a good sister will do. Olaf, of course, being Olaf the same, but they also wanted to create a subplot of Kristoff finally trying to propose to Anna. But apparently he's not very good at it. He can't find a word. He tries to say it, even in the most inopportune moments. And man, this is something that it kind of deserves its own talk. But the best way I can tell you is that his proposal arc is not as effective as the Rescuers Down Under scene, because at least in the Rescuers Down Under, at least the character tries to propose in opportune moments, and it's technically the glue of it. But no, they kind of missed the point on that one so much that, oh man, he disappears. Let me tell you. I'll get to that in a moment when I talk to you a little bit about it. But first, let's go by saying that, again with Disney, and I stated so many times, talking about the animation, the quality of animation, the graphics, and all the stuff, and the voice acting is technically pointless when it's about Disney. Why? Because of course the animation is gonna look good. Of course the voice acting is gonna be good. Of course. I mean, there's nothing to talk about it at this point when it's about Disney animation. It is only these rare occasions that when you have to talk about it, you have to talk about it. But for me, talking this is really pointless. And now but I do have a complaint about the graphics, I'll say. Because the movie takes place on autumn, apparently. Because it's really a high contrast compared to the other movie. Because in the other movie, since they wanted to make kind of like a Winterland setting, it's all white, glittery, bright, and colorful. But this one, they wanted to make it feel like a Thanksgiving cartoon. And I'll get to that just in case. Because everything looks a little bit grayish, darkish, kind of dull. Well, it's beautiful to look at because they wanted to capture, the feeling of autumn. It doesn't feel, bright and colorful like the last one. So it's beautiful to look at, but somehow the effect that gives to the audience feels grayish, I'll say, and not as bright and bombastic as someone could imagine. And of course, there is the songs, of course. How are the songs? They're okay. Mostly forgettable, I'll say. You can tell that there is a song called Into the Unknown, I think it was called like that, that when you notice kind of clearly, it does kind of have the same feeling and the same pitches as Let It Go. There's even kind of like a scene that they try to capture again the Let It Go feeling. It has to do with Elsa. I'm telling you that, which is pretty hit or miss, at least for me. And the way I say hit is mostly because since I think that in contrast, the Into the Unknown song is basically a little bit better than Let It Go. And that's probably me because after hearing the Let It Go all over and over and over again, I was kind of looking for something different, and I don't care even if the pitches are kind of equal, so it gave me that weird sensation that, okay, I find this song a little bit better. Maybe. Here's another one of the biggest problems that Frozen 2 has, is that it tried to introduce new characters, but unfortunately, these new characters were basically feel pointless. In this case, they kind of meet the group of people who were trapped inside that forest. They kind of befriend each other. They kind of begin to appease with them. They wanted to kind of say that they wanted to create kind of like a character in them, like the captain of the guards, a woman that tells Elsa about where she must lead, and also a guy who also heard reindeer. Just he befriends Kristoff in order so he can give him tips in order to give a huge proposal to Anna. And guess what? These characters, they're like, hello, I do my thing, bye. Nothing else. Also, there is this small newt or lizard, now whatever you want to call it. I think it's a newt, he's technically a fire newt. He can he can set himself on fire, but then he also likes to embrace himself on ice, so it makes it blue. It's adorable, let me tell you. It's really cute. But unfortunately, it has almost nothing too relevant for the main story. It's technically just a checkpoint to say, yeah, go over there. That's it. Yeah, there's also rock giants that these giants are technically the Chekhov of the movie, and this movie fails to give out interesting aspect of the new characters. They wanted to make them feel important, but their importance are really vanilla, for lack of better words, I'll say. Oh yeah, there's also probably what I found is probably the laziest character Disney has ever done, which I didn't even know if this was a character or no, which is technically a spirit of wind, in which they call it Gusty. And guess what it is? It's just wind with leaves. That's it! That's it! And the way it is designed and how the character kind of interact with this thing, you hardly know. That was a character? Gusty's a character. No! I can't tell! Okay, what are the complaints I can give about this movie? Alright, I've been hearing a lot of people talking about how annoying Olaf is. To be perfectly honest, I wasn't bothered with Olaf. Because when you watch a lot of animated films, you're gonna find worse characters that are annoying than him. Josh Gad's Olaf never bothered me, even in the first movie. There's some parts that I can find him sympathetic or sometimes too naive, but no, it didn't bother me. Maybe it's because I find Vanellope more irritating than Olaf. So sorry about that. Vanellope can be put on a fire dumpster for all I care, but Olaf, no, I can keep him. And sometimes he gave me a couple of chuckles out of it. Like for example, there's a moment in which he basically reenacts the Cliff Note version of the first Frozen movie, but I wasn't technically laughing about Olaf, making all these gestures. I was actually more laughing because I was thinking about the captain of Arendelle. He's like, ooh, ah, ee! But it was silly that I was kind of technically chuckle about it. And speaking of chuckle, there is a moment in which it has to be talk. Because this is probably because everybody who sees the movie and everyone who is reviewing it are talking about it. And I have to talk about it too, but man, that this movie goes down in history. Probably one of the biggest what the frick moments of Disney history. And here it goes. Remember that I say that one of the plots that they wanted to create is Kristoff trying to propose to Anna, but failing miserably. Because first of all, she's too into helping Elsa, and also he's pretty bad at it. He even tries to propose to her by making a bombastic proposal in front of rangers with the help of the new character who we barely know. But of course, it all fails, and she goes to help Elsa when she gets away. And then what happened is that Kristoff then begins to have his own solo song. But then what happened is that his rangers, Sven, he begins to talk and sing too. And not only that, then the way it begins to sing, the tone, and even the cinematography, it begins to turn into a little bit like this emo 80s music video. With some moments singing reindeers, all these things in which he's kind of having his grief that he may be getting torn apart from Anna and all this stuff. And if I was in the audience, everyone was silent. But I mean, my mind is like, what the frick am I watching? Where did that come from? I mean, hear a lot of reviewers kind of complaining that it's pretty bad. And yeah, it's the weakest song there is. But in my mind, but you know what? I wish they could have pushed the wacko meter. I don't know, eat some shrooms or whatever. But man, that this was it was one of the weirdest moments there is. And I'm kind of torn apart as whether to laugh or slap my face. But man, that was weird. So going along now with the super spoiler territory. So there is kind of like the obligatory teams to get separated. They get so much separated that Kristoff, after this wackadoodle song, he disappears. He disappears until the climax of the film. He's like, okay, you done your part. No, he disappears. Like, and what he does is really irrelevant later, but man, it's kind of like the movie kind of forgot that he exists. And well, and here's another thing that kind of bothers me about the movie is that they wanted to kind of show that the whole thing is surrounded by truth. And apparently, every time Elsa kind of uses her freezing powers, she technically kind of freezes the ghost from the past and makes kind of like the sculptures of the people who were there. And I don't know if it's based on it has to do a little bit with time paradox, continuing freezing ghosts or something like that. Interesting on paper, but it didn't felt solid enough in my opinion. So basically, yeah, they freeze out the ghost, and the poses of the ghost, they show off the history of everything. And yeah, after going through the journey, they somehow managed to find the boat where their parents were. They find out this parents in their last moments before they die, and because of that, they find out that the parents went to the sea in order to find the answer of why Elsa has her powers. Although it is a little bit kind of obvious from the backstories and all this stuff, is that Elsa's powers came because her mother was part of the nature people. She married her father, and she's technically she inherited the powers of nature, which again she kind of became a water bender or ice bender, whatever you want to call it. Again, I'm going with Avatar jokes. So she feels guilty. Anna says that no, you don't have. I want to be with you, so you don't put yourself in extreme danger. But of course, Elsa, being the emo that she is, she just dropped them off somewhere else. And of course, Anna and Olaf are going in their separate quest in order to find the truth, of course. And then we get the trailer shot. The trailer shot. Being in this complete darkness on the beach, and Elsa trying to go across the dark sea, because across the dark sea there is this place that I don't remember what it was called. It was something like Arendelle or something like that. Kind of sounded like Valhalla, which has technically the answer to everything. And yeah, we get the trailer shot. But here's one thing that please tell me that I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. When I see the beach, this darkness, the black sand, the water and everything, even the sky, the mood, everything, tell me if I'm not crazy. Is it me, or it looks really, really similar to the dark beach of Kingdom Hearts? You know that in the dark world of Kingdom Hearts, most of the characters, they reunite on the beach, and kind of like a dark beach. That's how it looks like. And yeah, many people consider it the best part because she tamed a water horse that basically becomes another character that just briefly comes out and other stuff. So yeah, she goes there and basically goes to the Palace of Solitude, where she gives out her song, and And then we find out the truth. The truth, apparently, because that kind of brings out a little bit of a question. It is revealed that, even from the past, is that all these peace treaty and all this stuff was actually a plan hatched by Elsa and Anna's grandfather, who he tried to, subdue the nature people because they had magic and he don't trust them and all this stuff. So basically what happened is that he made the bridge in order to subdue them, and then making it look like it is kind of like a call for peace. He backstabbed and killed one of the nature people, betraying their trust. So there you go. Arendelle is basically a kingdom that was made by colonialism. Did you see the Thanksgiving analogy? So yeah, I don't want to go too deep into it, but this thing is basically what it was trying to tell, is that sometimes a kingdom or an empire is basically based on built by by the horrible actions of the past. Let's say someone who, because at the time they are very judgmental, very biased, and of course, and that's basically that's what the movie was trying to do, with a little bit of global warming thing. And with that, let me tell you, when revealing that the grandfather was not exactly a good person, you basically find out that, well, he's the villain. I wish I could say that because the guy dies in the first flashback, so I can't say if there was a villain or not. Maybe there isn't. There isn't. So the thing is that because of this thing, this is the reason why the spirits of nature encapsulate all these people. It's technically kind of like their purgatory, their punishment. And so, what's the solution in order to appease the spirits of nature? They have to destroy the bridge. But unfortunately, by destroying the bridge, it accumulated all this water that it will cause a flood that will destroy Arendelle. But yeah, it comes down to the solution that this bridge has to go. It's basically almost like saying that we have to destroy, what can I say? Let's say without being so hard. Let's say the Golden Gate Bridge, because air doesn't go. So, but of course, if you destroy it, then progress won't go. You know what? I'm making things out of my head. I can't say about this. So it is an interesting thing. But guess what? They find a kind of like a solution to appease both things. I'm not gonna reveal exactly what it is, but while it's kind of like a good solution, it technically take off the risk and the kind of like the big message that it is bringing out. So basically, yeah, that's what happens. So, but you know what? There's also one thing about Elsa that she that she also learns about the fifth element, in which, no, it's not heart, it's something, that they didn't establish too well. Yeah, they do solve, the Kristoff Anna thing, in which, to be seen, it kind of felt like out of nowhere, and there you go. I think I talked all the things I wanted to tell you about Frozen 2. And one of the reasons also I didn't publish this video right now is that I know that some people might want to see it, and with me trying to analyze the things that are good or wrong about this movie, I should talk a little bit spoilerish about it. Here's the thing, I didn't hate this movie. No, I actually was okay with it. This year I've seen I've seen bad movies like Wonder Park, and I've seen good movies. Toy Story 4. Toy Story 4 was, despite my issues with the ending, it was a pretty solid movie. I do have to say. Frozen 2 is good as it gets, but it's not as unfocused. But still, it's a better alternative than Arctic Dogs. No, I didn't watch the movie. I wanted to see it, at least to see, because I heard about a lot of things that this one has, but no. I couldn't, and probably thank goodness. I recommend it as a rental, Frozen 2. Don't get too hyped up that it's really, a great movie or a great franchise. It has the princessy stuff. It has the sequelitis things. Disney still needs to grow up. Disney still needs a little bit to grow up. But now that I think about it, if they wanted to bring a little message about colonialism and about empires, going through, taking over, nature people and other stuff. Oh dear, Disney, watch out, watch out. I don't know if this is kind of like hypocritical or something like that, but basically Disney is kind of like an empire. You know what? I'm overthinking it. I'm really overthinking this. You know what? Let it go.